The act of measuring my money behavior on a monthly basis resulted in me growing my net worth by over $142,000. While I can't give the money routine 100% credit, it did provide me with the space to even just think about my money behavior. You know what they say, what gets measured gets managed, and by having a monthly money routine in place, you'll be able to manage your finances. While that might sound meh, the real value of having a monthly money routine is how enriched your life can become as a byproduct. I've been able to quit my full-time job at age 30 and downshift to part-time work at a university. Not only has my life become more enriched by having the luxury of free time and a less crowded headspace, but by having this money routine, I also realize that I can afford short-term delights now instead of waiting for a later milestone. I treat myself to monthly massages, annual travel, and great coffee, while still being on track to reach my long-term goals. Let me open up the hood for you and show you what I do step by step at the end of the month, every single month. My overall routine is about 4 steps. The first step is to pay off my credit cards. The second step is to consolidate all of my transactions. The third step is to update my wealth dashboard. And my fourth and last step is to plan for the next year. I will note that if you don't have a plan in place or a budget in place, it probably makes sense to start with step 4, but at the end of the month, assuming you have a plan, you can also adopt this routine as well. So let me elaborate on each step. My credit card philosophy and practice in general is to pay off my credit cards in full at the end of every single month. If you don't have credit cards and you are a responsible person and can pay them off every single month, I definitely recommend them because they do offer a lot of benefits. A few include cashback and travel points, both of which I've made the most use out of. For example, I was able to go on a 5-night trip, stayed in a boutique luxury hotel in Rome for 5 nights, and I did that completely for free. And also by paying my rent with my credit card, for example, I get around $40 every single month just for using my credit card. But at the end of the month, I do pay them all off in full. If you are in credit card debt, I would say to pay your credit cards off in accordance to your debt payoff plan. If you don't have a debt payoff plan, there's 2 methods to consider. One of them is a snowball method. The second is the avalanche method. And the second thing that I do is I review all of my transactions. I use a budgeting app that tracks all of my expenses automatically. There's many apps that I've used over the years. I've sort of been touring different budgeting apps. The app that I'm using right now is called Monarch Money. You can connect all of your accounts to these apps and they'll actually track all of your transactions. So for me, at the end of the month, I go in, look at the transactions, and I just make sure, there's nothing that looks off. I make sure that all of them are the correct category according to my plan. And I also, my fiance and I split a lot of things, so I make sure that all the transactions that we split are actually split on here as well. If there's any missing transactions, I'll also take the time to add those in. Sometimes there's like a cash payment, for example. I'll import that since I don't have a way of tracking that automatically. Third step is to update my wealth dashboard. This is my favorite step. It's actually a tool that I made for myself. So I get all of my aggregate numbers from my Monarch app and I put them all onto the appropriate tracker. So I transfer all of my data for my income, I transfer all of my data for my expenses, for my savings, for my investments, and I also update my net worth tracker. Once I'm done transferring all of that information over, I'm able to then analyze all of my money behavior on a monthly perspective and on an annual perspective. And I like all of the detail that I put into this, so I'm able to see a breakdown for every single section. I could see a breakdown for my income, I could see a breakdown for my expenses, I could see a breakdown for my savings, my investments, and it's just overall nice to see graphs. Every graph is paired with a question, so I know what I'm looking at. I also like working in this spreadsheet because I'm able to look at my goals and look at how much progress I've made on my investment goals and on my savings goals. And then I also like that I could write a reflection at the end. So because this last one that I did was a quarterly reflection. I just was able to reflect back on the last 3 months. The next step is to plan for the next month. It's helpful if you have a budget method. The budget method that I use is a combination of pay yourself first / anti-budget and $0 base budgeting. So what I actually do is I plan for the year, and it helps me to see the big picture at the beginning of the year. Just based on the amount of income that I know I'm going to have, I kind of make a rough draft plan for my expenses for the year. And then every month I reference my annual plan. I also have an expense calendar that I reference at the beginning of every month. I make sure to kind of, look at my plan, not only in terms of my expenses, but also in terms of like my goals and some of my to-dos. So I put all that information in my budget builder kit. So I do all of my annual and monthly planning there. Once I have my plan hashed out on a separate spreadsheet, then I move those expenses over to my app. Once the month starts, I'm able to just automatically track everything. I can almost guarantee you that if you were to do this for 3 months, that you would see dramatic changes in your financial world. And again, it's not the routine, it's the space that it gives you to be able to think about your money behavior, and it forces you to reflect on whether you're spending in alignment with what you actually want out of life. Just by going through this, you're gonna see that your money is going into things that you could probably live without. That was the case for me. Even though I spend less, my lifestyle has actually improved. I was able to identify those expenses that weren't really serving me or I wasn't really in love with, and I was able to redirect those dollars. If you're new to budgeting and you need some guidance, I do recommend taking a shortcut in your learning and taking the nano course I created. It's called the Budget Formula, and it's a modern way to think about and practice budgeting. Whether you love the idea of budgeting or hate the idea of budgeting or anything in between, this course is for you. Designed it to really get straight to the point. So I'll show you 3 of the most popular budgeting methods. I'll give you examples for each, and I'll also give you a template. You'll walk away with everything that you need to create your own plan. If you're experiencing some sort of block when it comes to budgeting, let me know what that might be in the comments and maybe I can help you out.